Hello?
I love how you always join right on time.
It's not intentional, I guess, just a coincidence.
And every minute up until you do, I'm assuming that I've somehow messed up the time zone conversion. But I haven't for a long time.
Yeah. Yeah, this is kind of a late one for you, isn't it?
Yeah, I actually don't normally stay up this late. But that's all right. It's just a bit weird to be doing the show at night. Do you still get them all out of the house when we're recording?
Yeah, usually. That's why I was waiting for 9 o'clock this morning. It's when the library opened and they're all going out to the library.
That's awesome. Mm-hmm. What do they do at the library? Do they still get books out?
Yeah, we have a pretty large public library in town that has like a whole kids play area, and there's like always story times going or whatever. But you could make a trip out of it, so it'll be nothing for them to spend a couple hours there.
Oh, sweet.
Yeah.
I got a book out from the library for the first time in ages during the week. Have you heard of the Red Rising series?
I have not.
By Pierce Brown. Anyway, there's a new book out in the series.
Red Rising. Science fiction novel. Set on the planet Mars. Huh.
Yeah. And various other planets as it goes on. Do you read much sci-fi?
Oh, man. I'm super guilty of not reading as much as I should.
Oh, me too.
The most reading I do is like stories to my kids every night.
That's one better than me. We have like a nighttime TV show. It's like an 8-minute show, but
oh really?
I should read instead of do that.
Yeah, I think the last book I read, I can't even imagine. It would have had to been while I was still in university, so it's been a few years.
Oh wow. Okay. Occasionally I get really motivated and move Apple Books into my dock or something on my iPad.
Oh yeah.
That's as far as I get. But I just find that when I have a physical book in my hand, it's way easier to get hooked and way easier to just pick it up and get started reading without all the distractions. So yeah, I'm definitely a physical book person at this point.
Yeah, it's a little counterintuitive to me. I'm the same way. If I have a book, I can sit down and read it. But in my head, I'm always like, well, if I buy it on Apple Books instead, then when I'm at home, I can sit and read on my iPad. And then if I want to read that on the go, I have it on my iPhone too. And so it would feel like it would be easier to read more if it was on Apple Books, but it hasn't been the case for me so far.
Yeah, it's weird. How do you find reading on the screen? Is that a hassle for you?
Up until a few months ago, I would say that I've never had a problem with like eye fatigue for reading on screens for a long time. But I got LASIK almost a year ago, and while it has done a ton for my vision, like there'd be no way I could function without glasses before the surgery, and I haven't worn glasses since. So obviously it was a success, but my vision is noticeably worse than it was when I had glasses previously. And so I still really need glasses. And it's especially with my job where I have to look at screens all day. I get like pretty bad headaches by the end of the day at this point because I'm straining so hard to be able to read everything.
So you had LASIK, and what did it correct?
It corrected my vision.
Yeah, but then you said you still have to wear glasses.
Well, I definitely need glasses still. So it wasn't perfect. Like my vision before LASIK, my vision with glasses was like 2010 or 2015. So like above average vision. It was really nice. And after LASIK, my vision without glasses is like 2025, 2030.
Actually, I don't really understand this rating system.
Okay. So the way the vision measurements work is 2020 means that you just have average vision. 2030 means something that is 20 feet away to you appears as blurry as something that's 30 feet away for someone with average vision.
Wow, this is a revelation to me. Okay.
So 2015 is the opposite. So something that's 20 feet away to me looks like it's only 15 feet away to someone with average vision, so I can see better than the average person. And prior to my surgery, my vision was like 2450, around there.
20/450.
Right. So something that's 20 feet away.
You couldn't see anything.
Right. If it wasn't right in front of my face, it was just a blur.
But then with glasses, you had 20/10.
Right.
Okay.
So my vision is worse than it was with glasses, but still a million times better than it was without. But it's enough that, especially just with my day job having to read screens, it is enough of a fatigue to really give me a headache by the end of the day.
Right. Okay.
So it kind of feels like a ripoff because I still need glasses in the end, but my vision is so much better that it's hard to call it that.
Yeah. I want my money back. My vision is way improved.
Exactly. So I've been hesitant to go in and get glasses. I've got a follow-up appointment with the surgeon who's going to be testing my vision in like another couple months, like basically the 1 year mark. And they have a policy. It's like, if your vision isn't such and such good, then they'll touch it up or whatever.
Oh, nice.
So I don't want to commit to glasses, which is not fun. I don't know if anyone want to do the surgery again.
Is it the surgery itself or the recovery afterwards?
It's probably more the recovery than the surgery itself. The surgery it wasn't actually LASIK. It was called Smile, which is like the new version of LASIK. But the recovery afterwards is definitely the hard part, just because your eyes are always dry and irritated, and you've got to put drops in like every hour, and I hate eye drops.
Okay.
So, but the surgery itself lasts like all of 10 minutes.
Yeah, and they just lift a little flap and do a little bit of tuning with the laser, right? Bingo,
yeah.
bango.
There's no flap anymore. That's the difference between LASIK and Smile.
Cool.
So they have like a laser that it burns off like a sub-layer of skin on your eye. And during the surgery, you're like looking at this. There's like a red dot you're supposed to look at, or a green dot. And you see the dot, and then suddenly everything goes blurry as the laser like destroys a layer in your eye. And then they cut a slit in your eye, and they use like a little hook, and they stick it in the slit and like scrape out that layer.
Oh God, David, please.
I have a video of it if you want me to send it to you.
Really? Is it graphic? Like, can you see the stuff that they're scraping out?
Oh yeah. Yeah, it's like a close-up video of my eye.
No, I do not need to see that, thank you. I'll pass. Hard pass.
So it's definitely unpleasant, and it's not uncomfortable at all. Like your eyes are completely numb, and they gave me like Valium beforehand, and so it was like it wasn't painful or uncomfortable even. It was just they emphasized many times, don't move your eye at all, don't look around because you're gonna mess up what they're doing. So you're like really panicking, trying as hard as you can, like to just stare forward, even though you kind of lose track of where forward is because you can't see anything anymore. And
and imagine if one glanced sideways and it was like cutting the wrong part of your eye and forever blinding you or something. Some nightmare scenario like that existed.
But the effects are immediate. Like as soon as I got off the operating table and stood up, I could just see better.
Yeah, that must be amazing.
Yeah, it's amazing surgery, and it's for the money. It's probably still extremely worth it, even if I don't have perfect vision afterwards.
Well, you need an excuse to keep wearing your Steve Jobs glasses.
Yeah, that's right.
You can't go around wearing them with empty frames.
Yeah, but you literally can't because they're 3 separate pieces without a lens.
Right.
So, man, I am enduring an awful smell to record this podcast.
Oh, where does this smell emanate from?
So my my basement floor drain was backing up yesterday. And I think I've talked about this issue on the show before, where the pipes leading out of my house are old and causes the floor drain to back up sometimes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And so I came...
Yeah.
Yeah. So I came downstairs yesterday and my office was like just all soaking wet. And I took a, one of those like steam cleaning wet vacs and sucked up all the water and had fans going all night and hoping that it would air out the office enough. But it's still pretty bad in here.
What does it smell like? Just wet?
Yeah. Basically just damp. It's mostly gray water. So it smells like gray water.
Grey water is like used water, right? But not sewage.
Right. Yeah. It's like runoff from the washing machine.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that can tend to smell, can't it?
Yeah. So it's sounding like potentially like one of the pipes from our house has actually collapsed at this point, and they're gonna have to come out and replace all that. So.
All right. One leading away from your house.
Right.
All right.
So, since our pipes are made of clay.
So quaint.
Yeah.
Laid by Queen Victoria herself. Good morning.
Hey, I can say good morning and actually mean it this time.
Yeah, you can speak the truth. Normally it's blatant lie. Mm-hmm. This time it's coming out of my lips.
Yeah.
macOS Catalina is available today, 5 days ago, roughly. Released, as noted in the first comment by Hackempt, the Santa Catalina Island was first discovered on October the 7th, and here Apple's releasing macOS Catalina on the same day. Coincidence or not?
Oh, man. It feels like it's not.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. I mean,
it's a hard one, isn't it?
It's the right time frame for them to be releasing, like the Catalina anyway.
Right.
I could see them thinking, okay, we're going to release Catalina early October, and someone like realizes that Catalina Island was discovered, and like, all right, well, I guess that's the way we're going to do it.
Yeah, I mean, it's as unready today and then as it has been for the last month. So,
right,
they're pretty much free to pick whatever date they wanted.
So, I still need to upgrade to the actual official release version. I'm still running some beta version right now.
Oh man.
My problem is that I only use my Mac when we're recording the show, and so I was sitting down at the computer. I'm like, oh, I need to upgrade, but it's too late now. I'm about to call James.
So many things in my world like that. I realize I need to do something as, the critical point where you had to do it is passing you by, and then you forget until the next time it happens. Repeat and repeat.
Yeah, it's exactly the same way with Windows updates for me. So Windows is always pestering me to update the OS right when I'm in the middle of something. And so I say no, and then I repeat that cycle forever.
It'll wait until you're presenting in front of 500 people and then just give you no option. There's some great videos on YouTube of that happening.
Oh, really?
Yeah. People giving demonstrations and then, just classic. I think it was Windows 7 more. It was a bit aggressive about just restarting itself and installing updates.
Even Windows 10 is getting pretty persistent, because I used to have the option of like update now or, remind me tomorrow or something like that. And now my options are either update now or remind me in an hour. So
it's like that Apple Card setup. You use Apple Card as your default card or choose later.
Set up later.
Set up later. Well, you're still running the beta, and we haven't really had any problems recording this show, so I guess you're having an all right time.
Yeah, it hasn't been too miserable. There was a couple times earlier on where my computer would just restart on me, but that seems to have cleared up at this point.
That was pretty early on in the beta cycle, and you reported those bugs, didn't you, to Apple?
Yeah, I'm a very diligent beta user and report every bug.
That's why we're running the betas. Exactly.
It's not just to have the features 3 months early.
No.
I don't even think there's any features in Catalina that I really cared about, except being able to run
That's
the
what I was
version of
gonna
Xcode.
Okay. Yeah, so are there any features that you're excited about?
I'm excited to try Apple Arcade. Which I'm not sure if that's Catalina only. Do older operating systems have access to Arcade?
No, because it needs Catalyst.
Oh, of course. Okay. Yeah, so I'm excited to try that, especially once I get another Mac that's not just my podcast computer.
Right, yep.
So when that new Mac Pro comes out, it'll be for Apple
Really?
Arcade games. So,
Have you put aside your 10K for the slightly upgraded version of it?
no, I definitely can't justify that.
Not even with the 3% cashback?
No.
Damn it.
No. But I will be picking up another Mac. I want to find maybe just an old Mac Mini or something that can, whatever the oldest one is, that can run Catalina, so like 2012 or something, and put Apple Arcade on that for the kids. They might enjoy that.
Yeah, just watch if you're planning to use a sidecar that most of the old ones don't really work.
Right. Yeah, right now my kids have like an Intel Core Duo Mac Mini. It's still the white plastic Mac Minis.
Oh, what a classic.
Yeah, a couple of the older educational games on that they play. So they could use an upgrade.
I think I don't really use Mac OS very much, but the computer in the house is my wife's MacBook Air, 2015, I think, so incapable of running sidecar. I always struggle to get that name out for some reason. And I think sidecar's the only really compelling reason that I would upgrade, and there are a couple of bigger reasons why I wouldn't. So it's going to sit on 1014 for now.
I think the 2015 is probably new enough that you could use that terminal command to force sidecar on. But I don't think it would necessarily perform as well as the ones that just natively support it.
Yeah, I tend to shy away from those sort of hacks because they work today, but I don't know, when 0.1 comes out, then maybe it doesn't work, and then you're looking for the hack again and all that sort of stuff, the run around, and try to avoid that.
That makes sense. So, yeah. So not a lot new in Catalina. Mostly, like, at least the main feature that I've been hearing about in the news is just the idea that iTunes is gone.
Right.
And even still, months after Apple officially announced this, people are still panicking that they're going to lose all of their iTunes library.
Yeah, I mean, there's been so much news about the demise of iTunes. I mean, there's that whole news cycle about the Pro DJ apps losing the iTunes XML file so that they don't work anymore either.
Right.
But this has been, it's not like they sprung Catalina on us suddenly. It's not like they're even forcing anyone to upgrade. So,
right. Yeah, I think it's mostly the fault of just how people are wording their headlines. Because when someone with no other context just reads that Apple is removing iTunes, that could easily lead you to believe that your music's going away.
Yeah, without even an OS update, it's just poof.
Yeah,
it's gone.
Exactly. But yeah, anyone who spends more than just a couple seconds to read a headline will realize that's not the case.
I guess the news has got to have their cycle. Otherwise, what are they doing? Writing about nothing.
That's right.
It does beg the question if people really need to upgrade like Mac OS every year, though. I think that's a decent argument that you could probably leave it and just skip Catalina, because obviously it seems to be a bit of a painful update, especially with like 32-bit apps going away. why not? Oh, and like Catalyst being in pretty early days still.
Yeah.
Just wait until High Catalina next year.
I honestly miss like the 3 or 4 year release cycle of OS 10 from 5 or 6 years ago. I think that a desktop operating system needs a little bit more time to bake than every year. And a lot of these updates feel more incremental than they used to, because they're just trying to throw in little features here and there to make an OS update worth it.
Yeah, Catalina has some... I might have almost said Catalina was more of a point update, but then under the hood you've got like Swift UI and Catalyst, which,
right,
that's some fairly major stuff. But there have been previous OSs where the tentpole features have been pretty minor things, easily suited to a point update instead of a whole new major version release. And
right,
it's so easy to lose track of them now, having had one every year. Gone are the days where you had to remember like 4 cats. Now it's every square inch of California.
Yeah. I think the iPhone has spoiled people into thinking that they need new features every year. And I think the Mac has suffered because of it. I feel like the operating system in general has just become less refined. I don't necessarily have as much time to work out some of the bugs and polish it as much as they would if they had a few years in between releases. And
the whole iOS update system has also taught people that developers will mostly just like pick up the slack and polish off the rough edges, and then those updates will get delivered to your phone. You won't even notice that the problems were there, and then the problems are gone. Completely unlike what you'd expect on the what you'd get on the desktop.
Yeah, in reality, especially at this point, if a developer hasn't updated their app to 64-bit by now, they're probably just not going to bother.
Right.
So any app that you are running is just gone.
That is actually the case for an app that I don't use all that regularly, but I do use it every now and then as like a side hustle. And the developer has just said that there is never going to be a 64-bit version of this app, so that is that. And yeah, so that's got me stuck on. What are we on now? Mojave for
High
Sierra?
You're right.
So I think I'm probably going to be on Mojave on this computer at home for, I don't know, at least a couple of years.
Yeah, and it might force some people who have a critical need to use 32-bit app to either never update or start having to dual boot.
That'll be interesting.
Assuming that there's also other apps that they would need that are being updated, and you have a handful of years down the road where it doesn't make sense to be running a 3 or 4 year old operating system, but you still need that one app.
It's going to be like XP mode when Windows 7 came out.
Yeah.
Do you remember that?
I do remember that. Yeah.
It's like a streamlined virtual machine with XP, just for those apps that was, struggling behind.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, maybe we'll have a Mojave mode.
Everyone's really going to have to worry about rewriting applications if Apple does make this transition to ARM, at least on some Macs. I mean, hopefully they'd have some kind of x86 emulation, but it would not be nearly as nice as running native code.
Maybe something like what Microsoft is doing. Didn't they... they had that Surface announcement the other week.
The Surface Pro X is ARM-based.
The Surface Pro X is ARM-based, and I think it's running x86 apps in like an emulation mode.
Yep. Yeah. I'm excited to see how that's going to work out for them.
Yeah. what kind of hit it has on a battery life to be doing that.
Yeah. So, yeah, but for all intents and purposes, that Surface Pro X actually seems pretty nice. It's definitely geared at the iPad Pro.
Yeah. Do you want to talk any more about that event?
The Surface event?
Yeah.
Sure. We can talk about that. I think Apple needs to steal their stylus storage idea from...
Oh, it's brilliant, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Kind of tucked in the top of the keyboard.
Yeah. So it even charges in there. I think that's perfect. I mean, as far as the mainline Surface products go, the stuff that wasn't a new announcement, I think those were mostly just small updates. The Surface laptop got a little performance bump and a larger screen size option, and the regular Surface Pro got a USB-C port finally.
Yep.
Which is crazy to think the iPad got a USB-C port before a Surface.
Right.
But yeah, the Pro X and then their two folding devices were really kind of came out of left field.
The Neo and the Duo, maybe?
That's right, yeah.
One of them being an Android phone and the other being a x86 computer, laptop.
Mm-hmm. Man, this will be interesting. This is kind of like the beginning of the war of form factors for folding devices, whether or not the screen should fold across the gap. And
whether it should be two separate screens.
Right. Yeah, I really didn't like the look initially when I saw them unveil it. Because there's been phones in the past that have had two screens in a gap, and they've obviously never caught on. But with the Neo especially, that form factor as more of a tablet laptop hybrid, especially with the magnetic keyboard that can fold over on top of the screen, I thought that was actually a really cool idea.
Yeah, right. Yeah, on the smaller device, I couldn't really work out like what the ideal way of holding it to actually operate the keyboard would be. If you had to open it as like a book,
mm-hmm.
Are you going to split the keyboard across two screens? Or you'd have to if you wanted to use it two-handed. So like you were holding it like you'd be holding a book and typing with your thumbs.
Mm-hmm.
But then you'd have a split keyboard. I don't know if you could do that. Or you could do something like what the iPad does now, which is have like a swipe keyboard under one thumb. But I mean, if you're already holding the device with two hands, it seems kind of like a waste just to have like a single-handed keyboard there. And then if you were to turn it up the other way, like you would with the bigger device,
mm-hmm.
kind of have I don't know, what format would you call that? Like the screens are in landscape, but the device is in portrait, and then the keyboard takes up an entire screen. So like, what's the point in having a two-screen device anyway at that point?
Well, that is exactly how they demoed it in the reveal video, was someone holding it with the screens in that vertical orientation.
So you just have this kind of small landscape screen to actually do any work on at that point. Right. Like, is there any point having a two-screen device then?
I don't know. I'd love to see how. So the problem is that, and this is the problem with the Android's always had, is app developers are not going to support this one form factor ever. So you're going to have to hope that Microsoft or Google or someone has some kind of auto layout solution to take advantage of the two screens in a useful way.
Mm-hmm.
But I wouldn't bet on it if they've failed for so long to even get just tablets in general to catch on.
Right. There was some word, though, about Microsoft and Google working together to get something happening for the dual screen layout. I can't remember the specifics, but I don't think that Microsoft was just leaving it to Google and hoping for the best.
I'm really surprised that Microsoft decided to run Android at all.
Yeah, they just don't care anymore, do they?
They're completely out of the mobile phone operating system business at this point. But But yeah, I would expect Microsoft a few years ago to just throw Windows on a phone, and they were working on, at some point early in Windows 10 lifecycle, the ability to run Android apps within Windows. And that got canned pretty early on. But if they were to bring that back and have Windows on a phone, but the ability to run Android apps, I feel like that could be more of a best of both worlds situation.
Yeah, but they're not really all in on Windows so much as they used to be either.
Right.
So I think they just want people to run their own apps on whatever device is going to suit the person. Like, they just want people running Office, basically, and then using their cloud services.
Yeah, that's where the money is now.
Yeah, Windows is... I don't really know how much money it makes for them, but I don't think they're... that's got a huge upward trajectory compared to cloud.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, so, I mean, to them, I guess, if it runs Android, just to get people to use it so that they can then sell another Office 365 license, then they're probably happy as if it ran Windows in the first place.
Yeah. Yeah.
Maybe if Windows was a subscription, they'd try and get it running. But you can't get people to pay for an OS, can you?
No, not anymore. Not in this day and age. I'm really excited about what this means for just the future of mobile devices in general. Like, these devices specifically don't excite me too much, except to imagine a world where they're running like iPad OS or something. Mm-hmm. I'd be really excited to see what an Apple foldable device that like runs iOS closed and then opens up to iPad OS would look like. I think that could be really cool.
That could be, yeah.
So, and then if they get an ARM version of Mac OS, maybe even going, that far.
And then emulating all your I wonder if Catalyst can just, I don't know these words, can recompile to run on ARM instead of... Actually, that's more of a Swift UI sort of technology, isn't it? You're the developer here.
I am so outside the realm of Apple development.
Okay. Well, as two people not really into Catalina, have you got anything else on the topic?
No.
How about international relations?
Oh, man.
Yeah, so hashtag boycott Apple trending as Apple removes Quartz News and HK Map apps from the App Store. What started as a... well, they removed them, right, a week or two ago.
Right.
And then most of the Twitter sphere, blogosphere, whatever you want to call it, was like, oh, there was probably just some app review mistake here. Like, Apple would not remove these on principle. And lo and behold, a couple of days later, the apps popped back up again into the App Store. But then flash forward about a week or so, and both apps are gone. This time accompanied with a statement from Apple saying, basically along the lines that these apps were being used to target police. And so as like a safety thing, the apps were being removed from the App Store. And then that statement from Apple was pretty quickly debunked as false by a few people. And now we're in this state of hashtag boycott Apple, as well as a bunch of other kind of tech companies that have done similar type things.
Yeah, it kind of feels like the Chinese government is kind of flexing its muscles right now and making a lot of companies kind of just bow to their will. and I completely get both sides of this argument, and it's really hard. I think with most companies, if they were to pull some apps from the App Store because the Chinese government told them to, it would suck and people would be mad about it, but it makes sense. And even in the lens of it being Apple, it makes sense. The Chinese market is huge. Most of Apple's manufacturing is done in China. They really don't have a lot of a choice except to listen to the government before, they're banned or something. But on the opposite side of that, Apple especially has always kind of positioned themselves as kind of a moral authority and standing up to even like the US FBI when they wanted to have a backdoor in iPhones. Like they've always positioned themselves as standing up to things that they believe are wrong. And so for them to do this, it makes them sound really hypocritical.
They've painted this picture of themselves as this company with morals and principles and privacy and all that sort of stuff. And it seems to be built on stacks of cash, and then when that cash is at risk or is being pulled out, then suddenly the image that they painted them for themselves is just a mirage.
Right. Yeah, they're happy to be the moral authority when it doesn't hurt their bottom line at all.
And there were some posts about Apple's history of caving into things like this as well in the past. So I guess we shouldn't be too surprised. I mean, facts such as the iCloud data center is run by the Chinese government, more or less.
Right.
I mean, I don't think you can say it so bluntly, but it doesn't take too many strings to make a connection.
Right. Yeah. So I don't know what the right answer is. I mean, unfortunately, I think this is probably the best solution. And I'm sure that they've already weighed their options at this point. But they pull the apps and get some bad press for a while. And I guess the worst thing of this isn't they're getting bad press for a while. The worst is that they're putting out, thousands of protesters in Hong Kong. And that's really the upsetting part, is they're potentially hurting people by doing that.
So the thing that confuses me is these apps perform like a pretty generic function. Surely there are there's more than a handful of apps in the App Store that can do the same thing.
Yeah, like Waze comes to mind immediately, where people can mark location of police.
Right.
So this isn't some unique functionality or anything. This is, like I said, I feel like this is the Chinese government trying to just flex their muscles and say,
that's exactly what it sounds like. Some official in China decided that these two apps are not suitable for Hong Kong for the App Store.
Right.
Please remove them. It sends the wire to Apple.
Sure.
Straight to Tim.
Yeah. So it's either this or stand up to the Chinese government and here's something like, okay, well, now Apple devices are not allowed to be sold in China anymore. And
right. All manufactured.
Yeah, right. Just completely, they could just ruin Apple so easily if they wanted to. And there'd be little they could do, because there's no way they can spin up manufacturing in another country fast enough to not severely hurt the company. So they're kind of stuck in a corner right now.
You don't think they could move iPhone manufacturing to Austin? Suddenly, iPhones cost $10,000.
Yeah, exactly.
And the stand is another $1,000.
Yeah. So it's not ideal. It's actually really bad, but I don't know what else they can do right now. So
on a pretty related but unrelated topic, I actually bumped into someone today who was on holiday in Perth from Hong Kong.
Okay.
And he said that what we read in the media is painting not a bigger picture. It's hyping up what is happening to a way bigger extent than what actually is happening. He's saying that protesters come out on Saturday nights and Sunday nights, and then he goes to work on a Monday, and there's barely any sign that there was a protest. And
really,
Yeah, I found that quite interesting.
That is interesting. Because if you'd asked me, I'd have been under the assumption that this has been like a nonstop thing for the last couple of weeks.
Right, exactly. And I mean, he's hasn't been in Hong Kong for 1 week because he's been on holiday here, but
right,
he lives there apart from that.
Yeah, that's the hard part of doing anything like that. Is at the end of the day, everyone still needs to make money and get by, and so you can't just drop your whole life for something, even if you believe it's necessarily morally right or anything else.
Right. And he said local industry is suffering the most from this type of thing because a major source of income in Hong Kong is Chinese tourism. And so the Chinese tourists aren't quite coming in the waves that they were before.
Oh, yeah. I would be very hesitant to go to China right now.
To Hong Kong, do you mean?
Yes.
Or are they the same thing?
Ugh, don't get started on that.
Next minute, the r/Apple show is censored.
I mean, what? If we want our show to play in China, then we got to say Hong Kong is in China.
Right.
Just like Taiwan. That's all China.
Our total Mandarin listenership is in the low 0%.
Yeah, do we have anyone actually listening over in that part of the world?
I don't think I've ever scrolled the stats far enough.
Far enough down at the very bottom of the list.
Yeah.
Like one person accidentally clicked on a thumbnail.
We do have a few listeners in the sovereign nation of Tibet.
Really?
No, I'm kidding. I'm just having a go at China.
Oh, man.
Now, in the camera app for 11, 11 Pro, 11 Pro Max, you have the option to change resolution and refresh rate. I did not think we would see the day, but here we go. It's amazing the things that Apple will do when people request it for 10 years.
Yeah, you can get anything you want as long as you bug Apple for a decade. And this is what we chose to settle on, so we wanted to toggle this setting.
Well, it took 15,000 emails about the on-screen volume up display to get it changed to something more appropriate. Right. Yeah.
iOS 13 is really starting to feel like the update where Apple's taking, all this feedback over the years into account.
Yeah, and every update does feel a bit more like that, which is cool.
Yeah.
So this feature's coming in 13.2, which is in beta right now.
Right. And I've stopped running the betas at this point. My understanding, though, from what I've seen, is they're very, very small touch targets, and it's hard to switch between the two. So I'm hoping that this isn't the final UX, and they'll be changing this in the next couple betas of 13.2.
Well, make sure you submit. Oh no, you're not running a beta to submit the feedback. Damn it. But I've heard the same thing. Yeah, a smallish touch target, difficult to see, and right. Yeah, it is the first time we've seen this feature, and it's it's common enough that Apple changes UI stuff like that. So, yeah, hopefully we'll see something.
Yeah, I'm really excited they're listening. Not that it's a feature I'd ever really take advantage of. Do you, as someone who spends more time behind a camera, have a valid use case in mind for wanting to switch FPS or resolution on the fly like that?
It's a good question. Maybe if I was running like a newer phone that was capable of like 4K 60 and 30, I might switch it down to 30 in low light, but my SE can only do 4K 30, so that's not a case I'd run up against. Maybe there are situations where you're like, I just don't need to record this in 4K. Maybe battery saving scenarios. I know 4K like absolutely destroys battery life. Yeah, I mean some odd occasions like this, but I would never have signed the petition to have this feature actually added to the camera app anyway. I was happy with it being the settings app, so.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's just, at least as far as I'm concerned, maybe this is just an amateur opinion to have, but it's like, I'll just max the settings out and not worry about it.
I think that's a perfectly valid opinion. I mean, when we're looking back at video whenever you're looking back at video, you're like a long way in the past, say like a decade, it's always the case that you think, oh, I wish the quality was a little bit better on that. Right. So to just use the maximum that's available now, even if it uses more storage space, well, guess what? Like a 2 gig video in 2030 is going to be nothing, so who cares? Right.
Yeah, and the most I record is, maybe a 5-minute clip of the kids playing or something. I'm not out recording, for an hour at a time or anything, so.
Right.
Battery isn't really a concern to me, and storage really isn't either.
As long as the sizes of the iPhone storage grows faster than your video recording, then you'll be fine, Mr. Right. I keep local storage of everything.
I haven't yet, since getting the 11 Pro, downloaded my music library locally. I've been streaming that.
Okay. Why are you holding off on that?
Because there's no easy way to hit download all. You have to go into each album and hit download.
What if you had a playlist of every song in your library and then hit download on that playlist?
Oh, I suppose I'd have to go through every song in my library and add it to a playlist.
Yeah, if you did that in iTunes, though, or music, you could do that in only a couple of clicks.
Huh. Well, maybe I'll have to play around with that. It honestly hasn't been that big of an inconvenience to me to stream all my music, so...
No, I do that and have done that 100% of the time for, I don't know, years and years now. It really is quite good.
There were times in the past where if I had music that I ripped from a CD and wasn't available anywhere else, if I didn't have it downloaded to my device, it would show up on my device, but if I was like shuffling all my music, it'd get to that song and then immediately skip it, unless I had it downloaded to my device. I don't know why that was, but it doesn't seem to be the case anymore. So
that behavior I've seen when mobile data's not turned on for music. So It could have been that.
Maybe.
I've definitely seen it do that before, yeah. Skip non-downloaded songs, not give an error message because, they just want to keep the music playing. Right. And then later troubleshooting it and finding mobile data off.
Okay. Well, maybe that's it. This is the very first time that, since they added the ability to play radio stations over Siri in iOS 13, I asked her to do that recently, and she said, you need to turn mobile data on. And I was like, oh, that's odd. I thought I already went through and turned it on, but there was like one special setting that I didn't have turned on. So maybe that's the thing I've been missing all these years.
It's definitely on by default turned off as well. So if you ever set up a phone from new, then it's off.
And I always do. I never restore from a backup.
Yeah.
So
that'll be it.
Yeah. So yeah, hopefully that's been a solution, and I won't have a need. I'm never away from internet, and I have an unlimited data plan for my phone, so I don't really have to worry about the implications of streaming music.
What else about iOS 13? This is probably a good chance to talk about it. How are you finding it day to day?
It's been just fine for me.
Really?
All of my concerns with it early on, with not being able to pair to devices that had their own Wi-Fi network, that's been resolved.
So your dash cam's up and running?
Yes, I can pair to that. I have my own complaints that's dash cam specific now, but it's not iOS's fault.
And those will never be fixed.
I know. But yeah, it was like almost a day one fix. iOS 13 came out, app updates came out, and all my devices could then be easily paired to again.
That's the smoothness of mobile device updates compared to desktop OS updates right there.
I know there's people that still have issues, but I am probably the most basic use case of a phone where 90% of my time is well, I have probably cycle between 3 apps. I text message people, I use Apollo, and I like listen to videos in the YouTube app, and that's basically the things I use my phone for.
Do you watch them or just listen to them?
It depends on what I'm whatever video is playing. A lot of times I'm just listening.
Okay. Do you have like a YouTube Pro Premium where you can just put the device away?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, YouTube tricked me into that. It was like there was one back when it was still called YouTube Red. There was like one YouTube Red series. I'm like, oh, that sounds a little interesting. I'll watch that, and I just never bothered to cancel my subscription afterwards. That's how they get you. But it's been so nice not to have a single advertisement that I don't even know what I'm paying anymore. But it's been nice.
The advertisements on YouTube are truly becoming obnoxious.
Really?
I mean, it was enough to have like one pre-roll. Now then they added pre-roll and like mid ads as well, and then they added double unskippable pre-roll, and now they even finish up with post-roll as well.
Well, those are easy to skip away from, at least.
Yeah, but I just don't like seeing them. I like finishing on a black screen or whatever the creator intended.
Right.
Instead of an ad for like a painkiller or whatever.
Yeah. So I'm happy to be avoiding that, at least.
It's high on my list of subscriptions that I would subscribe to.
And it'd probably be pretty hard for me. I fall asleep to YouTube sometimes, and I think if there's advertisements, that would be really hard.
Ooh, yeah. Yeah, it would be. I heard a cool hack the other day that you can generate an RSS feed of your YouTube subscription playlist, right?
Really?
Yeah. That's just the half of it. The other half is that you can add custom RSS feeds to the default podcast app on iOS, right? And because the default app supports video podcasts, you can add your YouTube subscriptions to the podcast app.
Really?
And get ad-free video in there. Yeah.
That's really cool.
Now, the people who wrote about it obviously worked for them, but I didn't try it, so I can't say how smooth an experience it is, but I've been meaning to try it out.
Reminds me of the early days of podcasts, like pre-iPhone or like 2005, 2006 timeframe. There was a podcast that I had subscribed to called Best of YouTube. And it was literally just this video podcast that took the most popular videos on YouTube and rehosted them. And I would download all those videos onto my video iPod to have like YouTube on the go.
Classic early internet sort of technology hodgepodge.
So, are video podcasts still a thing? I haven't actually tried to watch one in a long time.
They still exist, but a lot of the third-party podcast apps don't support video, so they're kind of dead.
Right. Yeah, it just doesn't make sense in a day and age where YouTube is so popular to post your videos in like a podcast.
Right.
So, but it was news to me that the word podcast actually gets its name from iPods. I didn't realize that Apple basically invented that format.
Yeah, more or less.
So, but I guess that makes sense. I was just surprised by it.
Where were we? iOS 13. I've had my woes. I'm having my ups and downs with iOS 13.
Really?
My HomePod does not seem to remember my iCloud account details.
Is your HomePod updated to the iOS 13?
As far as I know, there is no update for the HomePod yet. So it's stuck on...
Okay.
I think they call it iOS, actually, for the HomePod still. I think they call it iOS 12.
I think that it's probably presented as that, but under the hood in the code, it's called Audio OS.
Okay.
Yeah.
Call it what you will. There is no update for it yet.
Okay, good, because I haven't got an update either.
Yeah, I'm sitting here waiting for, not only for it to stop signing me out of my iCloud account, but for my wife's song selections to stop clogging
Yes.
up my recommendation system. I'm sick of listening
so
to the
excited for
wiggles.
multi-user support.
Yeah. But I am more excited about it not signing me out of iCloud every day, because I use the HomePod to control lights, such as every time I enter or exit the house. Mm-hmm. So to have it come back at me with, you need to sign into your iCloud account, can get old very quickly.
I've never had that issue. That's interesting, because I use my HomePods for the same thing, and I've never had that message. But
I never had it until like the phone and the iPad are on iOS 13, so it's got to be an iOS 13 thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
How is iOS 13 running on the SE?
Oh yeah, it runs perfectly. No complaints at all.
Good. So enjoy that form factor for the last year you can.
So the rumor is there's no iOS 14 for the SE? Find it hard to believe.
You find it hard to believe you won't get 14, or you find it hard to believe you will?
Find it hard to believe I won't. At the pace that it runs the OS, like, there's certainly no performance issues there.
Sure. I don't know if it's necessarily performance limitations, or it's just, I mean, the 6S and the SE are next on the chopping block. They're at the minimum specs now, and the SE is such a nightmare to develop for.
Yeah.
And the rumors of them having a new SE coming this spring, it would seem odd to me for them to continue supporting it, but I guess we'll see.
Yeah, I haven't seen how the 6S and especially the 6S Plus runs iOS 13, but yeah.
I'd expect them to be similar to the SE.
Yeah, they have to push a whole lot more pixels, though, with that processor.
Right, that's fair. Yeah, I remember when I got my 6 Plus and just having the slightest tinge of disappointment that I didn't get the fastest iPhone because it ran just barely faster on the 6.
Right.
So, yeah, I don't know. I was actually surprised that the SE got 13 just because of the development issues and nothing else.
They've been selling it so recently, though. That's why I was not surprised.
Yeah,
up until last year, right?
Yeah, it's been fairly recently.
We'll wait and see. I don't have high hopes for the SE2, obviously, because they're just going to... the rumour is they're going to put it in an iPhone 8 type body, which is pretty similar to the 6, 6S, 7. And
right.
That kind of misses the point of the SE and the niche that it fills. Although, of course, it's going to sell well if it's like a really cheap iPhone.
Right. I mean, it's still going to be probably the smallest phone that Apple's selling by that point.
If it's the smaller size of the 8 and not the 8 Plus, then
right.
Would it be physically the smaller size? It'd be the smallest screen size, but maybe not the smallest body overall.
Are the 11 Pros a smaller footprint? I'm not sure.
Maybe width-wise, but not height.
Huh. And there were some rumors that the iPhone 12 would even go for a smaller screen size. I think down almost half an inch.
Wow,
like
that's
5.4 inches or something. Yeah. So, who knows? Apple may do none of it, just like they are apparently never going to do Apple tags or anything else.
Speaking of Apple tags, that's my the next topic. Actually, I'm not sure what order I ended up putting the list in, but the next topic, which is kind of a no topic, is that there is no announcement of an October event yet, and it's moving on in October. So we do have a few things that are a few products which are fairly well rumored to be coming out this year or seemingly imminent. In order of imminence, if that's a word. I think Apple Tag, or whatever it's called, the tile competitor, was probably right up there, especially since the iPhone 11s iPhones 11 have this UWB chip, which doesn't do too much yet. So you got to think that the tiles is a release candidate.
Right.
Maybe a 16-inch MacBook Pro. And what was the third thing on my list? The new AirPods, which we'll get onto a bit later.
Right. And I think even probably farther down the list than those things, maybe a refresh to iPad Pro with the triple camera on the back. Maybe just an announcement on final specs and prices for the Mac Pro. And then probably the bottom of the list, still seemingly imminent, but maybe not quite as soon.
AirPower.
These AR glasses.
Okay, AR glasses, yep. Forever holding out hope.
Oh, man.
They're
playing with us.
iPad Pro, I'd actually be really surprised. I think that's more of a next year product. And AR glasses, I don't know. It's gonna surprise me no matter when it comes, I think.
Right. No, I think they're definitely next year product as well. But in my mind, it's also another one of those 6-month sneak peek kind of products. Like they've done with the Apple Watch and the iPhone, stuff like that.
Yeah. Maybe just even release it for developers to purchase and then cancel a few years later. So I looked back through keynote history to see if there was ever a November event, and there hasn't been. The latest event was October 30, and that was 2 years ago's event, October 30, with invites going out on October 18. So we still actually have a week. We still have time for invites to go out and for an event to happen.
It feels like they have to, but of course, this is just coming from someone who's sat here and listened to rumors for so long that it all seems inevitable at this point. But they could actually have no MacBook planned, and they could have, they're nothing but little prototypes of AirPods and nothing ready at all, and who knows?
Tell you who knows, Ming Chi, Mr. Kuo himself. I'm not sure which part of Ming Chi and Kuo is his first, middle, and last name.
I think Kuo is his first name.
Really? So it's actually Kuo Ming Chi?
Right, because in China, your surname comes first.
Huh.
Or in, I don't want to say China, but whatever Asian country.
Why don't you want to say China? You don't want to upset.
I honestly, when I just said that, I didn't know for sure that Ming Chi Kuo is from China, so I didn't want to say that.
Okay.
But anyway, yeah, I'm pretty sure, because I've heard some, I think Renee Ritchie on the Vector podcast calls him Kuo Ming Chi.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, I'm fairly certain Kuo is the first name.
I'm just okay. Yeah, you don't get much on online when you actually search his name.
Oh, really?
I mean, no,
maybe it's an alias.
No biographical information. There's certainly a lot of articles with his name attached to it.
Sure.
Also, I can't spell at 11 o'clock at night. Taiwanese. There we go. Now that we can't get mixed up. I mean, we could, but it's not dangerous to get mixed up because Taiwan is certainly independent. Wait, no, it's not. Shit.
No, it's not. China made Apple pull the Taiwan flag emoji from their app store, from the keyboard.
Taiwan, man. Little Taiwan. There you go. Taiwan, officially the Republic of China.
We're in dangerous waters with this podcast.
Yeah, we sure are. Moving right along. So yeah, I got to say, I still think it's likely that we're going to have an event with the list of things that are supposed to be coming.
Right, there's too much upcoming for them to be waiting until next spring to announce it all. At least in my mind.
Say there is definitely an event. Do you think there'll be Mac Pro information at the event, or are they just going to press release it out or whatever?
I feel like if there is going to be an event, they should at least touch on it. I mean, it's still so up in the air right now what the pricing is going to be on anything above the base configuration, and we're less than a month away from the Mac Pro launch. Or have they given a specific date? Is it just November?
I don't remember any specific date.
Okay, so maybe
did they actually give a specific month? Did they say November?
Yeah, it's definitely November. So, I mean, I guess they don't have to say anything, and maybe they feel like it'll take some of the wind out of the sails of the Mac Pro if they say, like, you know, it's going to be $10,000 for the next tier up. But I could actually see them completely avoiding saying that on stage now. Maybe that will just be a press release.
Yeah. Just release the configurator. Let people sit down when they configure it.
Yeah.
They're going to need to.
I think that's probably actually the better way to go, because the Mac Pro is such a niche, or specifically used for people who a $10,000 computer makes sense, and for Apple to announce it on stage is going to make the average consumers who are going to receive that or hear that shocked, probably.
Yep.
So I think it probably makes sense not for them to announce it, now that I'm thinking about it.
Maybe it depends on what other stuff is going to be, how much other stuff is in the keynote.
Right.
They do seem to pack like a heap of stuff into keynotes these days.
Maybe they can fit in those Apple Store sales number updates that Tim had to skip in September.
He skipped them for a while now, hasn't he?
Yeah, the last couple keynotes, he's like, man, I got too much to talk about. We're just going to skip over that.
Yeah. But I really want to know the customer sat index.
Right. Yeah, I really missed the launch videos when they opened a new Apple Store. seeing all the employees clapping. So,
yeah, I much prefer the cinematic intros when they do those. Anyway, someone has found glyphs of new in-ear AirPods with noise cancelling. So they found the glyph of the AirPod, what it looks like, a little graphical representation of it, clip artish. No, everyone knows what a glyph is. And also the way that the noise cancelling function is controlled. So let's start with the AirPods, I guess.
I'm actually having a hard time making sense of these, like how they're exactly going to fit in your ear and how they're going to look.
They look like little spaceships.
They're very odd.
It looks, I don't know, I thought it was pretty self-explanatory. If you imagine the current AirPods, but if you ever remember the IEMs that Apple did, they've got that little silicon tip that you push into your ear, kind of stuck on the end of the AirPod.
Sure. Yeah, I guess I'm more confused about exactly how the stems are going to be coming out.
The glyph doesn't do any favor to the stems, does it?
No, they seem to be like coming out at a very odd angle, and even in the same article, they've got some pictures of like the empty shells, like prototypes from a factory, and even looking at those, I'm having a hard time imagining what these are going to look like coming out of your ears. Not that AirPods look very good already.
Yeah, they look a bit dorky, but I think people are used to them by now. Yeah, the little kind of empty shells that are pictured in the article. The stems look pretty well straight down, I guess. And they look a little bit more of an angle than the current ones, which are, basically 90 degrees, but I don't think it's too far off it.
Significantly shorter as well.
Maybe it's because they're missing the little silver tip on the end. It just gives that impression.
Maybe. So, yeah, I don't know if I'll be upgrading to these or not, but these could be nice for you since they might fit in your ear better.
Yeah, so I've got high hopes and low hopes, if that's possible to have both at the same time, because I was a bit of an avid user of both back when headphones were wired, I had the standard Apple, what are they called? Earpods, and also in-ear headphones. And while I did like the in-ear ones, I didn't have a great fit with them. I think I remember they shipped with 3 size silicon tips, and all 3 required at least a certain amount of re-pushing into the ears at semi-frequent intervals to get them to stay in there. Once they were actually in the ear, they were fine. Had good sound, pretty isolating. Didn't get too much like noise from the cables, which is often the case with like in-ear headphones. But over time, they would just kind of work themselves out of the ear. And I'm not talking about like over 5 hours. I'm talking like over 30 minutes. They would work themselves out, and you'd have to push them back in, which isn't always a comfortable process as well with in-ear headphones.
Right. Yeah, I find those extremely uncomfortable. And that's why I want to upgrade.
Yep.
Interesting to me, I would have bet that when we were talking about noise cancellation or anything like that, this is more of just a noise isolating solution. I wouldn't think that the battery of AirPods could ever support any kind of active cancellation, but that seems to be exactly what's going to happen, at least from those UI hints in the iOS.
So the UI was basically like a sub slider on the volume slider, which should let you change the cancellation degree or amount.
Right. So,
yeah, very interesting. I think considering it's always listening, like the mics are always on anyway, listening to Yo Siri, maybe it doesn't take a whole lot just to add the reverse frequency, however it does its magic into your audio stream.
Maybe. Yeah, I'll be interested to see what the battery life is on these. And since this isn't just an exclusively noise isolating solution, I'm hoping that there'll be just the traditional shaped AirPods that'll also support this.
Okay, yep. I wonder in terms of battery life, because at the moment, if your AirPods are not playing anything, right, they're not using much battery at all. They have a little bit of battery usage when they're not in the case,
right.
But I think you could pretty much leave them in your ear for hours and hours and hours. But of course, with noise cancellation, even when you're not listening to something, the speakers are still putting out noise. So that's going to have an effect on battery life for sure.
Yeah, definitely. So I'm really hoping that this is not just the new version of AirPods and maybe just like a pro version of AirPods. And this
wait, I've already got dibs on AirPods Pro as the guest name, all right?
Okay.
You might have said Apple... it first, but...
That's your thing.
Yeah, it's my...
What did Apple used to call their in-ear wired headphones? They had
they were just called Apple in-ear headphones. That was it.
Oh, really? Okay.
I wouldn't be too surprised if I still had a pair as well. I could probably look it up.
I remember those being like $80. Those were not cheap.
They were not cheap.
Back in the day.
Back in the day when we were conditioned to pay like $30 for a pair of headphones, they were not cheap. But these days you look at them like, wow, what a bargain.
That's right, yeah. You can still buy these. Oh, I said that, and then I clicked on the link and found they're out of stock. But they're still listed like on the Walmart's website. Anyway, I really hope that they have those alongside the current form factor of AirPods, because like I said, I find those very uncomfortable.
I think you and a lot of people. I'd be shocked if they got rid of regular AirPods.
Well, a lot of people have found the shape of AirPods, uncomfortable or not fitting well, and Apple hasn't done anything about that since 2012 when they had EarPods.
Right, because, they've been the same size bud since then.
So, we'll have to see.
Although the AirPods themselves, I think a lot of people said fit better than EarPods, just from the lack of the wire.
Right.
So yeah, I guess not the fit, but the staying in the air ability, staying in the ear ability. God. All these airs and ears and pods and the wires are less prone to, I don't know, that they're so light that the wire could actually push them up and out of your ear without not too much effort.
Right.
Anyway, you know what I'm saying.
Yeah. So, yeah, but there's so many things that have been either heavily rumored or leaked through the betas that it feels like it's just inevitable that Apple's going to be doing a keynote this fall. Well,
I look forward to it.
I do too.
I'll put my pennies away for AirPods Pro.
It's not going to support the SE just to spite you.
Oh, imagine that. What a conundrum.
Well, yeah, what if, though, like active noise cancellation required like an iPhone 8 or newer or something?
Oh, I don't care about noise cancellation.
Okay.
Actually, I would not turn it on.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I don't know. It feels like a pressure building up in my head that's going to explode in a few minutes. It's sort of, yeah, not a fan.
Do you have noise cancellation on?
Yeah.
Just because it's too quiet or what?
I don't know. It's I didn't think it was an uncommon phenomenon, actually. I've never gone to explain it.
It's not something I've ever heard of. Maybe you're just very sensitive to these reverse frequencies or something.
Maybe.
Huh.
But yeah, I borrowed a pair, and I described the feeling when I gave the pair back, and the person was like, "Oh yeah, I know what you're talking about."
Don't you have QC35s?
I had some briefly, and returned them.
Oh, okay. And you didn't like the noise cancellation on those?
Exactly. Yeah.
Wow. Interesting.
And as far as I know, that's close to the pinnacle in terms of consumer noise cancelling.
Right. Yeah, they were pretty top of the line, at least until a few months ago.
All right.
Huh. That's a new phenomenon to me.
Yeah, maybe I should try another model before I write it off completely, hey?
Yeah. Give it a try. So, the headphones 700 by Bose now are really nice.
Yeah, okay.
And they got USB-C ports. And
yeah, man. Do you think
touch
AirPods
support on the cups?
Oh, yeah, yep.
Yeah.
Actually, we didn't mention Surface Buds, did we? Touch support on the
oh man,
on the bud. Yeah.
Those are pretty
live translation. Control your PowerPoint deck.
Yeah, that's what I want to do is control my PowerPoint from my earbuds.
Yep.
But
do you think AirPods Pro will have USB-C?
Oh,
surely not if they're released this year.
No, they'll probably have wireless charging. That'll be
yeah, no doubt. So. If they are the Pro model, they'll come with it standard.
Right. Yeah, there's probably only the wireless charging option for the Pro ones, and probably a Lightning port on bottom.
Yep.
So,
all right. Sounds like a show.
All right.
I'm James VDM on Reddit and Twitter.
And I'm Jellywoot on Reddit and Twitter.
And I am rocking an Apple Watch Series 3.
How's that working for you?
Very nice. Thank you very much for sending that.
Oh, you're welcome. I was kind of worried that I know that at least some functions of the Apple Watch are like region locked, and I was worried that it just wasn't going to work for you.
Well, yeah, my only concern was with LTE, and actually I got a prompt during the setup screen that it said just flat out that LTE is not going to work for you, so don't even bother. But apart from that, zero issues.
Good.
Yeah.
That's awesome. How are you finding the new sports strap?
Oh, very comfortable. Yeah, it's nice. On par with the nylon, which I loved as well, and far superior to the sports band, which drove me crazy, as I've said before.
Good.
Accidentally wore it once into the shower, so I had a soggy band for a little bit.
Oh, right. Yeah.
But I've mostly managed to avoid that.
Yeah. So, and I think you have like like speak to Siri now. I think that was added in the Series 3, where you didn't have to say Yo Siri first.
Yeah, that's it was a bit of a trial and error process and it still is trial and error. Well, try and fail. But I mean, at first when I tried it, I would hold it the distance from my mouth as when I was saying Yo Siri, but I quickly learned that you basically have to, like when they teach you to hold a microphone, actually have the microphone touching your chin. Basically, I have the Apple Watch touching my lips and talk to it to get it to activate. And even then, it's probably 90% of the time, not 100.
Really?
So if you got any tips for me?
No, that's basically my experience. Even on the newer Apple Watches, it's not consistent.
Okay. Yep. It seems to depend on the type of question I'm asking. Like if it's a general knowledge question, it seems to have more of a trouble of picking up that I'm talking to it, whereas like a timer, it'll get every time.
Right. Yeah, I still find myself holding down the crown to talk to Siri. I don't even think to just invoke her without pressing a button.
Okay. I think I'd sooner say the catchword before holding the button down.
Yeah. I've been conditioned from the early years of the Apple Watch. I've gotten fed up with her not listening, so I've just gotten in the habit of
not even listening to the catchphrase, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. Know that feeling. But yeah, I recently got back into like step tracking, and so I had been carrying around my phone for that. Right. You know the feeling of walking somewhere without your phone. It's like, I'm wasting these steps. Well, now I don't have to worry because I've got the watch on anyway. So that's nice to have. Back on the activity rings.
So this is your first time with a stainless steel model, right?
Yeah. Yep.
It's significantly heavier.
It is. It's a lot heavier.
It's surprising.
But you kind of don't notice it pretty quickly. You get used to it.
Right.
I bet you could probably put like another kilo on your wrist and you'd get used to that.
So that was kind of a tempting thing to me about the titanium models this year, is that they're somewhere in between aluminum and stainless steel in terms of weight.
Okay. Nice.
But, yeah.
Getting about, I think it's like a solid 48 hours in battery life, which is good. And that's on 6.0.1, which is probably still not that optimal in terms of battery life.
Right. Yeah, 48's impressive. That's really good.
Yeah.
My watch is still mostly dead by the end of the day, but I think
Okay.
I think I'm figuring out why, and hopefully this is definitely a software thing. I think they can get fixed. I'm finding more often than not, when I glance down at my wrist, the always-on display isn't in its low power mode. It's just on.
Okay.
So I think it's maybe too sensitive and it's turning on when it shouldn't. Or maybe it's just not going to sleep when it should, yeah.
Yeah.
Which is a bug I was having on my Series 4 as well in watchOS 6.
Right, yeah, you told me about that.
So
your all-day screen on your Series 4.
That's right. And I was having similar battery life in the Series 4. It was basically out of battery by the end of the day. So I think that's what's going on here, and hopefully that's something that can still get fixed in the coming months.
Yeah, I've heard a lot of complaints about watchOS 6 and battery life. Yeah.
I was excited initially for watchOS 6 when they put the App Store on the watch, but why did they have to take it out of the app at the same time? It's so much nicer to browse for stuff on my phone than have to like squint on the watch to find the app I'm looking for.
Yep. I've used it once, I think, and that was just via Siri, so I think the process went quite smoothly. Our reminders seems completely broken on the watch. Can't get them to load at all. Yep.
Huh.
I have no reminders and no lists on the watch, despite reboots of everything.
Let's see. Well, it's showing up for me, but I don't know. I mean, the reminders did have that big rewrite. So, are you still... I mean, you've updated to the new version of reminders by now, right?
Yeah, for sure, yeah.
Okay. I don't know then.
Actually, I think so. Yeah, it's not giving me the prompt to upgrade anymore, so it must be upgraded. I don't know. Just to wait and see.
Okay.
So, yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
It's a lot of fun. I'll have to get you back on a walkie-talkie and wake you up in the middle of the night. Oh, wait, you don't wear it to sleep, do you?
No, I don't. It's on a charger at night. So it just made more sense. Between you and I, this is actually exciting news for me. I mailed my 10S to a really long-time friend of mine. Like, we've been friends since, like, the kindergarten. Mm-hmm. And he's always been an Android user. And he's recently looking for a phone upgrade. I'm like, well, would you use a 10S? He said, I guess. And so I sent it to him, and now I know someone who has an iPhone.
Finally.
Yeah. So I can, I've been finally sending, like, I've been playing, like, the little iMessage games.
And person by person, you spread the iPhone throughout North America. Or Oklahoma.
Right. Kansas. I'm in Kansas. Well, Kansas. He's in Missouri, so I guess I sent it to Missouri. But, yeah, it just felt weird to have these, like, these still very usable new devices on my shelf with a bunch of old stuff. So,
yeah, you should definitely, like, give them out, and then with a little asterisk that they have to be returned to you when they're at the end of
done with them.
yeah, so that you can continue your collection, but while there's still a good life in them, that they should be used.